High stakes fantasy live draft NFC Rotowire Online Championship on the Fantasy Savvy channel with Steve D'Angelo. Make sure you guys are liking, subscribing to the channel. Thanks for joining us tonight. We're back for another draft here in the wee hours of Sunday night. Hope you guys had a good weekend. We're going to bring up the draft board in a minute. I got the number 5 pick. We're going to go, we'll see, maybe, 20 rounds tonight. We'll do a lot of player analysis. We'll talk about the preseason as we get closer and closer to week 1 of the NFL season. So, got the 5 pick. I took Saquon. Come back on the other side. I'll bring the board up. But make sure you guys are liking, subscribing, following the show. Follow me on X at Fantasy Savvy. We'll come back 20 rounds of the NFC Rotowire Online Championship. Let's go. Okay, board is up. We are back in business here. And I took Saquon at the 5. If you guys aren't familiar with NFC, you can kind of pick where you want to pick in the draft order. They have the KDS, Kentucky Derby system. So I set my preference. I think it was 5 was my first, and I was the first off the board. So, the first pick there. So they gave me the 5 spot. I was kind of, it was a little bit of a tough choice. I was thinking about CeeDee Lamb there. I've been getting a decent amount of Saquon. The one qualm with Saquon is, all those touches last year. I heard people talking about how Arian Foster and Larry Johnson were 2 backs that didn't produce the same after having, similar workload to Saquon Barkley. But I would argue that, neither of those backs are Saquon Barkley. Arian Foster was a guy that kind of came out of nowhere. Now, obviously he had a great career. Those few years he was, 3 or 4 really good years he had. And Larry Johnson, what did he have? A couple of good years as well, 2, 3 good years. His career wasn't really sustained. Neither one of them was the prospect or the athletic freak that Saquon Barkley is. So, is he going to wear down a little bit? Probably. Is he going to, maybe be as good as he, is he going to be as good as he was last year? We'll have to see, but his touchdowns could go up. I mean, Hurts stole those touchdowns, with the tush push. Maybe Saquon starts scoring from further out. You never know. Touchdowns could go up. Maybe the yards go down. Obviously, we don't expect 2,000 yards again, but, we'll have to wait and see. Certainly you feel fine about Saquon. I'm not going to really overthink it too much and get panicky about Saquon Barkley. CeeDee Lamb obviously is a fine pick too, but we're good with that start there. So board is up. Nothing too crazy so far. Ashton Genty, you were kind of seeing him after that first preseason game. I was seeing him go pick 17, middle of the second round there, and towards the back end of the first round. And before that preseason game, he was kind of going that 7-8 spot. So tonight he goes 6 after he looked good last night. Stiff armed the guy to a ground, running with power. He had a little bit of a scare early, went into the tent, but came back out and then stiff armed the dude. So he's going to get so much usage. His legs are fresh. You could argue maybe Genty has a better year than Saquon, but how do you, take Genty over Saquon? It's tough. I mean, you could mix it up if you're doing a lot of drafts, but if you're in a home league, I think you got to stick with Saquon. But if you wanted to take Genty, I'm not going to hate it. CMC goes 8. Then we get a run on receivers: Amon-Ra, Neighbors, Nico, Puka, Drake London, Brian Thomas, AJ Brown. Puka, obviously still a little concerning with the Stafford injury. And Devontae Adams also in the building too. So we'll have to see, how that all shakes out. And then if Devontae Adams is going, Bucky, wow, at the 7 spot. I really actually wanted Bucky. I think people, watching the preseason, we're going to go over a lot of the preseason stuff as well as we go through the show. We're through 2 weeks of the preseason now. I'm up now. Bucky Irving had that nice catch in the end zone, showing off his talents once again. I think I have no issues taking Bucky Irving in the second round. Feel really good about him. So tough choice again, man. I can't. I've been getting Johnny Taylor. I've been getting some Lad. Um, haven't been getting a lot of Chase Brown. Haven't been getting any Josh Jacobs. Let's go. Let's go, Johnny Taylor. Former RB1. So 2 running back builds so far. Um, Lad is obviously a nice piece there. You know, Jacobs, I don't know. I just don't feel I don't feel good when I draft him. I don't know what it is. I mean, 300 carries last year, 1,300 yards, 15 touchdowns, 36 catches, 342 yards. Marshawn Lloyd cannot stay healthy. Again, this guy's hurt. Unbelievable. So, and he's, Jacobs is a bruiser, man. 5'8", 223. The one concern I have is 2022 season, 340 carries, 1,653 yards, also 53 catches. So even more touches than he had last year. But not too far off. 39 less carries, 17 less catches as well, but similar. So you want, and then the 2023 season, he just was not the same. I mean, he was such a stud in 2022. Everybody chased him the following year, and he busted. I maybe have a little bit of concern that maybe he could fall off. And do I want to go with 2 backs who are coming off huge workloads? Probably not in this build. But I didn't really have much of Jacobs last year. And that was a mistake. It's still going to be a productive offense. They're still going to move the ball down the field. They still want to run the football. The receivers are all banged up. So, Jordan Love, we still don't know what he is as a passer. Yeah, he had one good year, but he's still got to be a consistent option and prove he can be a consistent option. So, it's going to lean a lot on Josh Jacobs once again. So it's hard to argue with him or Kyron. 2 huge workload monsters that keep getting it done year in, year out. I don't know. I have a little bit of concern about Jacobs, but I got to start maybe grabbing him in some of these, but I don't know. I grabbing Johnny Taylor. I'm fine. I do want to start getting some more Chase Brown. I really haven't got him. Again, you're paying up for Chase Brown this year. When he was a huge value last year, you're paying up for Bucky Irving. But both guys are playing in great offenses. They're both going to catch a ton of passes. They seem like pretty safe second round picks to me. There goes Trey McBride, George Kittle right after him. So team 11 goes and picks up George Kittle there, which is, most times you see Kittle fall into the 4th round. So this is not tight end premium. You start 3 wide receivers in this format, only 1 flex. There goes Kenny Walker. So this guy has no issues with Kenny Walker, although Kenny Walker, the injuries obviously didn't play in the preseason. We saw all those backs go off. Charbonnet running through, whale-size holes, and Halani and Damian Martinez. It's the preseason. The preseason running backs, you could get deceived. I mean, it's so hard to tell with these vanilla defenses, but I think you are generally excited about Clint Kubiak and that running system. We saw what he did with Kamara last year in New Orleans. His dad is Gary Kubiak. This is Shanahan, assistant for all those years. And, Kubiak was a head coach himself. And, obviously has a great run game, and his son's similar, and they're going to run the ball a lot. And Kenny Walker returned to practice today. So, it was a little bit of a reach, taking him over Jacobs. A little bit of a different draft tonight. Kittle going in the 3rd. People aren't really paying attention to AP, but I don't mind that. I mean, it doesn't always have to go in order. If you don't feel like you're going to get him on the way back, might as well take him there. So to me, it's fine. If you want to just get your guy and jump around up because you don't feel like you're going to get him on the way back, go do it. Not everything has to be in order all the time. And we don't have to overreact to guys jumping over. I mean, Kenny Walker could definitely be better than Josh Jacobs. I mean, Jacobs feels like the safer pick. He's been healthier. Walker never could stay healthy. That's, I mean, the talent is obvious. It's just he cannot stay on the field. But I have no issues taking chances on Kenny Walker, especially if you're in a lot of leagues. If you're in a home league too, I mean, I don't even mind it. There goes Jimmy Cook, and I'm on deck. So we're looking at receivers here. T. Higgins still hanging around over here, I believe. Let me go back to the board. And Kyron's still hanging around too. T. Higgins is another guy. Can never stay healthy. It's not like he misses a ton of games, but he always misses like 3-4 games a year. You put together a full season with T. Higgins. What's that going to look like? I mean, you put together a full season with T. Higgins, it's going to look very nice. I got to take T. Higgins here. Seems like the pick, unless I go quarterback, Lamar or Allen, and both of them will probably be gone by the time it comes back to me. But we'll see. Maybe these guys are waiting on quarterbacks. This could be a waiting on quarterbacks draft, and maybe I could pick one of those guys up in the 4th round. But I think I got to take T. Higgins here in a 3 wide receiver format. And I could also do a Burrow stack as well. And I haven't been getting any Burrow yet. There goes Xavier Worthy. So, I mean, jumping over guys like Tyreek, jumping over guys like Devontae and Marvin Harrison. So this draft is a little unorthodox, but I mean, I got no qualms about Xavier Worthy with Rashee Rice possibly facing the league wanted a 10-game suspension supposedly. And we'll see if it starts at the beginning of the year, or I think the Chiefs just want to get it over with before the playoffs starts. They have Rice back for the playoffs. But I don't know. We'll see how that all works out with the Rashee Rice. I'm not taking Rashee Rice unless he hits the 6th round. I think he's I've been saying that I think he's going to get 6 games. There goes Josh Allen. If I could pick up Lamar here somehow, I'll be happy. But again, I have Higgins, so I don't mind picking up Burrow. And I have to take Burrow here because I probably won't get him on the way back in the 5th. But yeah, I mean, I've been saying I think he's going to get 6 games, Rashee Rice, but could be 8. Could be 8 games. Maybe it could be 10. Who knows? We don't know what it's going to be. But I think we're looking at least 6. A minimum, very minimum 4, and that's kind of what most people were expecting. But I think now it's a minimum of 5, 6, maybe, and maybe a max of 10. So, 6th round, I feel okay. Best ball, I feel a little bit better about it. Taking him a little bit earlier, maybe, but in a redraft, taking him, 4th round, I just don't like that. There goes Tyreek. Lamar still sitting there. And you say, maybe I should go Burrow over him. I don't think you could go Burrow over Lamar. I know Burrow had a monster season, 513 fantasy points in this format where you get 6 points for passing touchdown, nearly 5,000 yards throwing, 43 touchdowns. But Lamar, 41 touchdowns, 4 picks, ran for almost 1,000, 559 fantasy points, his best season by far, especially throwing the football. I mean, he was just on point. Lamar here in the 4th round. I like it. And then, I could stack him with Zay Flowers. I can get Mark Andrews, Rashad Bateman. And I think I only have 1 share of Lamar in this format, maybe 2. So it was Trevion. So he's been getting juiced up. I've seen him go 2nd round in this format, but most of the time, 4th round. Higgins, Burrow makes more sense for the stack, but I'll work another stack later with Lamar, and I'd rather have Lamar, because Burrow's not going to have the rushing floor, and his passing numbers could come down. I mean, they were just trailing in all those freaking games, 652 pass attempts, and if they get rid of Hendrickson, their defense could be complete ass once again. So it might be very, very similar to what we saw last year. So I'll take Lamar there. And people are taking Burrow Chase when they got the one spot. They're taking, Chase, then Burrow. And sometimes they're going Chase, Higgins, Burrow. I think it hasn't happened. I think it's only happened once in this format. I thought it was more, but I've seen it in best ball. I've seen it on other high stakes where people take, Chase round one, Higgins round two, and then Burrow round three from the one spot. And there goes Burrow right after Lamar. All right, let's see who we got in here tonight. We got Jamie, says, sup. I got to wake up in a few hours, so I'm not going to stay long. Appreciate you, man. Hey, Jamie, I was watching your channel, Joe Bond. I think he's the guy who runs the site. He was doing all those interviews with all those beat writers, camp reports. Definitely got some good info out of there, man. I've been watching those actually at night before I go to sleep. I thought it was pretty interesting, like 15, 20-minute watches, and it was definitely good. Solid, man. So shout out to you guys over there. Doing big things at Fantasy Six Pack. We got our boy Joe Carlton back from a little mini vacay, ready to get back into the streets. Fantasy Football Sports Affiliation. Go check them out on YouTube. Holy shit, the reaches. Yeah, man. Crazy. Wow. How does team one not take Lamar? And yeah, I mean, nice little value for Lamar there for me. In the fourth round. And yeah, Joe does great work. Yeah, no, I really like those beat writers coming in. It's something I kind of wanted to do too. Maybe next year I'll do that. I think you really get a lot of good info. And our Scott Colby's in here tonight, a high stakes player. What's up, man? Good to see you, man. Says he got Lamar in the fourth as well earlier tonight. Interesting. So, I guess as we're getting a little bit closer to the season, preseasons, 2 weeks are done. We're getting some new people in the room. It's not the same old, guys who are drafting from April, the guys who have tons of entries on this site. We're getting some new guys, and things are going to switch up a little bit more. And, maybe I need to start doing most of my drafts in August rather than drafting earlier against all the big dogs that play on these sites. But yeah, so I think we'll start seeing a little bit more weirder stuff or unusual stuff in these draft rooms as we get closer to week one. We're not too far away. We're a couple weeks now. So one more week of the preseason, then like a bye. We'll get some college football, and then we'll have week one. Scott says, "Good to see you." Yeah, man. All the best this season, Scott, in your leagues. Our boy Al, what's up, Al? Hope you had a good weekend, man. Says, "Sup, Steve." All right. So I take Lamar, then goes Burrow, Terry, fourth round again. I think Terry's going to sign at some point. I mean, we're getting close, but Terry's been on the Commanders forever, and him and Jaden had a great connection. I'm not really worried about I think McLaurin could come in, although maybe get a little concerned of like a slow start. But I still don't mind taking Terry. I'm not really scared. I think he'll sign in time. He's got plenty of time, and maybe we see something this week. Or the following week. But I think he'll be up there pretty soon. Practicing with the team and ending the hold in. Mike Evans, getting a little bit up there. 32 years old. Some hamstring injury issues. But I don't know. I feel like in the fourth round, I feel pretty safe with Mike Evans. I mean, I would expect another 1,000 yards and 10 touchdowns. I think he's got at least one more of those seasons in him. Um, he'll get it done. These guys, they know how to take care of their bodies better and better. And Mike Evans is most likely looking at the Hall of Fame. So, um, I have no issues about taking Mike Evans there. Cortland Sutton should be the number one once again, obviously, in Denver. Don't mind that as a second wide receiver. Kamara, nice little combo there at running back for Team 10. Team 11, Calvin Ridley, Cam Ward, obviously. We're expecting much better production out of that offense. We saw that beautiful pass he threw to Van Jefferson. Van Jefferson, what? And a couple of years ago when Puka brought out, I knew one of those freaking Rams receivers was going to break out. I didn't think, I was going after Van Jefferson. Van Jefferson, but it was Puka. Van Jefferson stinks. I mean, so, Aya Manor had a nice little game in the preseason. Tyler Lockett, I think, is the number 2, but Aya Manor should work in a little bit. Chigo Quaquo, maybe a third year breakout or fourth year breakout. But that kid Gunnar Helm, rookie out of Texas, had a nice catch. He was getting some snaps too. He might get mixed in there. Josh Weil is another tight end they got in that room too, who I kind of liked. But yeah, Gunnar Helm, man, a nice little big body catch, boxing out the defender. So, Chig should be the guy, should be the main guy. But yeah, Gunnar Helm could kind of eat into him a little bit. Jalen Waddle, I mean, as far as talent, I mean, you could, if his quarterback was different, I mean, you'd feel, or if he was on a different team, you'd feel good about him in the second round. But it's just Tua, it's Miami, all the check downs. There goes JMO. Nice in round 5. I like chasing JMO. Tons of upside. I think he could have a really huge season this year. Again, you watch JMO, separates at an elite level, elite speed. Look, I watch him and Worthy on tape, and I think he's moving at a different speed than Worthy sometimes. So it's just like, that's a guy when you play in a tournament like this, you need to be chasing him. There goes Ricky Pearsall. Some nice picks there for sure. What am I looking at here? Zay Flowers, I like. I mean, I have Lamar. It makes more sense in this build. I like taking Pickens too. I think Pickens has a little bit more upside in that offense. This is where, do you want to force the stack? There's no chance in hell I'm getting Pickens, but you know what? Let's go. Let's stay to the stack here and get some Zay Flowers. And we could see a third year breakout from Zay. There goes Pickens right after. So it was either Pickens or Zay Flowers. I would have been fine with either, but it's okay. I took Pickens the other day, actually. I did a draft the other night, and weird draft. I mean, I took Bowers in the second round and McBride in the third round. Something I would, you don't really do in a non-tight end premium, but mixing it up, and I had Genty as my first pick, and then I came away with JMO and Pickens. So, 2 high upside receivers. But, when you take Bowers in the second round, obviously, there's a lot of good players there, but you know what you're getting out of Bowers. I mean, you're going to get a ton of targets. You're going to get a ton of catches. And if his touchdowns go up, you're going to have a monster fantasy season. And then same thing with Trey McBride. So, obviously, a lot of times third round, players, you just don't know what the hell you're going to get out of them. A lot of them bust. A lot of them, they seem good. And, look at Trey McBride. I mean, you just know what you're going to get. Kyler Murray's going to target him 10,000 times. So I feel like it's a pretty safe start with Genty, Bowers, and McBride. And in this format, it's a little bit different too. It's not that I don't think a lot of people are going to go with that 2-3 combo there. And I like what I finished at receiver. I ended up getting Pickens, JMO, and Debo as my starting 3 receivers. And then I put, McBride in the flex. I got Rashid Shaheed, who I draft in every single draft pretty much. And then I got my quarterbacks are Dak. I mean, I don't know how to feel about Dak. Like, I don't know if he's going to be able to throw for, over 4,000 yards and over 30 touchdowns. But he certainly could. So I got the Pickens Dak combo. And then I also picked up Anthony Richardson as a high upside pick and Geno to go to get the Raiders stack. So it's kind of a weird team. My running backs are like Nick Chubb, Caleb Johnson, freaking J.K. Dobbins to go low and Genty. So it's a weird team. It's a weird build, but we'll see how it all works out. And I do enough of these that I could kind of switch it up. Now we're swinging back here. Rashee Rice is now in round 6. What did I say? I said I would take him in round 6 if he was there. I have 0 shares of Rashee Rice. I still don't feel good about it. But I mean, I'm not going to get him in round 7. And we could be looking at a 8 to 10 game suspension, which is not great. I mean, you're getting, 7 games out of him, and you have to make the playoffs. I mean, in the regular season, you're only getting 5 games if he gets a 10 game, but probably 6 to 8. So more than that. But there goes RJ Harvey. I just literally put Harvey in my queue and it was taken. I was thinking about RJ Harvey there. I don't know. Do I go Rashee Rice here? What do you guys think? Come back to the chat. You guys think I should go Rashee? I think I should. All right, let's do it. I'm not gonna, again, I don't have any. I don't. It's hard to get him in the 6. Although this is maybe where he's going to start going now more often. Maybe 5th, 6th. Um, but I'll do it here. Why not? Yeah, I didn't like it too much. But again, I don't have any shares of him, and so if I can get him for the fantasy, if I can get my team in the fantasy playoffs, and he's back for the fantasy playoffs, could be nice. But again, it's risky. I mean, he could be getting suspended for the fantasy playoffs. He might just be back for the NFL playoffs and be out for the fantasy playoffs. So, but it again, maybe he helps me get into the playoffs. So it definitely is risky. All right, let's go to the chat here. Scott says, "Same to you. Take down the title. We are certainly trying. I'm actually doing a Superflex auction that Drew Davenport is putting on tomorrow night. That sounds awesome. I will give you a name to watch in New England. Efton Chisholm. He is athletic and has a great catch radius. Broke all Cubs records. Dude, I'm in a dynasty league and I just traded him for a third round, 2027 third round pick. I figure might as well take a shot on him. And I picked him up actually in one of my other dynasty leagues. He was sitting out there. So yeah, definitely a name to watch. This kid has balled out 2 preseason games in a row, similar to Tesla. And it may take him a little while to work in with all those freaking receivers there. But in Dynasty, for a third round 2027, I could always trade back in 2 years. Who the hell even knows that the league's going to be going on in 2 years anyway? You never know with some of these leagues, they break up. So, whatever. I took a chance. But yeah, no, big name to watch there. Good stat there. Broke all of Cup's records at Eastern Washington. And Joe says, grab the Eggman, Abuka. We'll see what happens with Rice. I don't have much Abuka. I think I only have him in 1 or 2 leagues so far. And, think about Abuka. I mean, Chris Godwin doesn't start the season, if Evans gets hurt, he's going to catch a ton of targets. We just saw Jalen McMillan made a nice catch and then fell on his head, or I don't. It was going up for a catch, and the guy ran underneath him, and he fell on top of his head. But he seems like he's all right. He said he's okay. But even Jalen McMillan seems like he could be in a good position too. If Godwin continues to sit out and something happens to Evans. But yeah, Buka's just like he's like the JSN. Amon-Ra St. Brown, play that slot role, catch a ton of balls, crossers, out routes, screens, get all those manufactured touches, just run wide open against the defense, especially when you have Evans out there, Bucky Irving, and, if Godwin's back on the field even. But I guess the one question you say is if Godwin comes back healthy and Evans is out there, is he still going to get all the, is he still going to be paying off for where he's going? But certainly a guy you want to take some, have some shares of for sure. And he's still sitting there because he normally he's been going. So you're right, Joe. If he comes back around, I doubt he will. I'll snack him up. There goes Tony Pollard. Nice pick in the 6th round. He was going in the 7th. Now he's moving up with the Tajay Spears injury. So, by taking Rashee Rice, it's a risk. Again, he's been going in the 4th round. But that was kind of before people were expecting maybe 4. I was calling 6. So I said if he goes in the 6th round, could still be 6 though. And they're saying the suspension could come early in the year too, still. So if that's the case, if he starts the year with a 6 to 8 game suspension, he's back for your teams before the fantasy playoffs. I think that's ideal. What wouldn't be ideal is if he gets suspended, later on in the season after the hearing instead of before the hearing, which I believe is November 30th. And then, you get screwed. But at least, you build up your team. You have a lot of fantasy points, but you obviously want to have Rashee Rice if you make it into the postseason tournament for weeks 15, 16, 17. That's what you want. And if you can get him there for weeks 15, 16, 17, there goes Ibuka. I mean, it's huge. So that's why I think you take some chances on him. And, he would have been gone at some point. There was no way he was coming back. I think, maybe there's a chance if he gets a 10-game suspension, maybe you see him 7th, 8th round, or if they talk about a suspension, during the fantasy playoffs, he may really drop too. Maybe start seeing like 7th, 8th round, or maybe worse than that. That's possible too. So it's still a little bit risky, even if you get him in the 6th round now. But I don't know. We'll wait and see how that's all going to work out. Obviously, I'm not going to have a ton of Rashee Rice against my first time I ever took him. I don't even think I've taken maybe like 1 or 2 times in best ball. So, we mix it up. We'll make it work. We just got to build some good depth around them. All right. 2 running backs, 3 receivers. One of them is facing a suspension. We got Lamar and Zay Flowers stack. We don't have a tight end yet. Do we want to build some more running back depth? There is a certain running back there. I think I'm going to grab him. There goes Jalen Warren. People are giving up on Caleb Johnson. Actually, Caleb Johnson went before Warren here. Sorry. Yeah, actually, did go in the 5th round. But a lot of people are just fading Caleb Johnson because they want to, I think Warren's going to be the guy. But, I think you got to look at the future. Like, yeah, maybe Warren's a start in the beginning or gets more usage. But I think eventually Caleb will show out his talent enough where he's starting to earn meaningful carries. And you'd have to think he'd be the goal line guy, short yardage guy. So he should clean up touchdowns. And I thought he had some pretty good runs the other night as well. And Kenny Gainwell is probably going to mix in a little bit too. So, late pick. We need a running back. I don't think Gainwell is a bad pick. Warren goes down. Gainwell is going to have a huge role. Um, so Jordan Mason goes before Aaron Jones. I don't know. I mean, people are just giving up on Aaron Jones. Pacheco looked good the other night. I want to grab one of these guys here. Aaron Jones, 30 years old. David Montgomery is also there. Let's take Aaron Jones. I haven't been drafted him. I drafted a ton of him last year. But it's at the very least gonna be a 50-50 split. Aaron Jones should still catch a decent amount of balls. I think Mason's an underrated receiver, but Aaron Jones is gonna be the main pass catching runner in that backfield. Um, stayed pretty healthy last year. I don't think he missed a game. So 255 carries, 1,100 yards, 5 touchdowns on the ground, 51 catches, 408 yards, 2 touchdowns. Really good offense. Might have to rely on him a little bit more early in the season with Addison out. And, this Jefferson thing lingers. I do think Pacheco, I thought the one play he had the other night, it kind of looked like the old Pacheco. Again, 2 years now removed from the broken fibula. Tony Pollard had the same shit going on. Rumors today, Brian Robinson possibly being traded. This Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt hype has reached unbelievable levels where, now all of a sudden Brian Robinson might get shipped out of town. I still don't see it. I mean, it's possible. And I like Ja'Cory Merritt, actually. I'm going to start going after him. There goes Pacheco. But I don't think it makes sense to just hurt the depth of your backfield there. And Robinson's been a solid contributor. He's their best goal line guy. But I mean, if they really like Merritt that much, it is possible. They have some other guys they could put in there, but I guess it depends, what they could get for him. Brian Robinson, I believe he's in a contract season too, so we'll see. I don't know. I don't think it's going to happen, but we never know. All right. Somebody said Sumner is killing it. That's team 4. Gibbs, Ladd, Worthy, Trevion, Pickens, Hart. That is a good team. I really actually like that build a lot. A lot of high upside guys. Yeah. Yeah, that's a nice team. I gotta admit, it's pretty strong. Um, I mean, obviously, yeah, 3 players there are rookies. There's still some uncertainty. George Pickens, I've been chasing this guy every single year he's been in the league. I've had tons of shares of him. He's just been a disappointment, partly because of the offense he's been playing in, partly because, he's still kind of obviously, he's got some issues a little bit. He's still got to work on his route running, but, as far as athletic freak, now he's playing with Dak and, his touchdowns should go up for sure. I mean, he's never been a big touchdown guy. And he's such a big frame. And Dak played with Dez Bryant all those years, throwing those jump balls, and that's what Pickens does well. So, Pickens could have 10 touchdowns for sure. Cowboys should be throwing a lot. This could be another big Dak season. And then Matthew Golden. I mean, a lot of upside there too. Reed's out. Freaking, all those guys are hurt right now. Wicks is hurt. Watson, obviously, he's going to start the year on the pup. Dobbs is a bad back. I mean, even Jordan Love hurt his thumb, which doesn't help the connection with him and Golden right now because he's not going to practice for a while or playing the preseason games. But Golden's like the one healthy guy along with Tucker Kraft. Let's see who he takes here. But building a nice team there for sure. Debo, another Can't complain. Solid pick there. Uh, Juwan Jennings, not a bad pick here. The receivers, they start to die out. I mean, you got Shakir and Jennings, probably the two best receivers on the board. Andrews is there if I want the triple stack there, but I feel like I need another strong receiver. Godwin obviously is strong too. Jennings, we don't know what the hell is going on. Is it a calf? Is it freaking? But I'm gonna take Jennings here. I think they got to bring him in the building. Calf injuries, those things linger. Sometimes they turn into Achilles injuries, so it's same thing with CMC last year with the calf, then his Achilles thing. And then we saw, Tyrese Halliburton in the NBA playoffs. He had the calf and he kind of came back and he tore his Achilles. And Achilles is it's like the new ACL. Everybody's freaking tearing their Achilles now. My best friend was playing in a men's basketball league. He didn't, great player in high school. He was like the leading scorer for his high school for a long ass time until somebody broke his record. But he hasn't been playing basketball. He goes and plays the first game. He tears his Achilles. So it's a brutal freaking injury. There goes Tyler Warren. He's looked great in the preseason, back-to-back games, catching more passes. Danny Dimes or Danny Pennies, as I like to call him, threw a nice pass to him on the sideline, little wheel route. Nice design by Steichen. I like going after Warren. He's going to, whether it's Richardson or Jones, seems like he's really, really going to be a focal point of that offense. And I keep saying with Warren, and there goes Andrews. All those things he did in college, throwing the ball, running the ball out of the Wildcat, I think they're going to do the same thing. I think there's potential for him to have 3, 4, 5 passing rushing touchdowns in the NFL in his rookie year. So, yeah, I mean, all the rookie tight ends that we've seen smashing, this guy is one of the best tight ends that's come out. Just pure football player. So I think it's a very, very sound pick there for Tyler Warren. Andrews is a nice value too. Yeah, Buka in round 7 is nice, especially when you're seeing him and maybe going 5th round. So 2-round discount there. Pretty good. Khalil Shakir, he should be back for week 1. I mean, you don't worry about Shakir too much because he had so much playing time with Josh Allen for the past 3 years. So it's like you don't worry about the chemistry there. The high ankle sprain, but he's got still, he's had plenty of time. Even if he misses 1 game, they're not going to rush him back. So you could deal with missing 1 game, maybe 2 at most. And if you have an Allen stack, it's fine. I think he'll be fine. And again, could get 1,000 yards. Shakir, I mean, could be the leading receiver. So he's a pretty solid pick there as the receivers continue to dwindle. And if I didn't go receiver there, then I'm not really looking at it just kind of really dwindles at this point for receivers. And there goes Quinshon Judkins back up into the 8th round. All right, let's talk about some of these preseason happenings from week 2. um, let me just go over the games here. Pull up the games. Something I was going to read some notes, but let me just go by what I saw here from some of these players. Ollie Gordon, 10 carries, 50 yards. I wanted to actually show something here with Ollie Gordon. Maybe we could all watch him together here. This is a good little
D coordinator just getting us in good position.
This guy, a highlight zone, he drops all the preseason highlights for the individual players. You watch all their snaps. This is the best thing about
everything that Kelvin Shepherd wants to do defensively.
This is the best thing about this now. I mean, YouTube, you could just watch all these snaps like it's nothing. Jalen Wright really hasn't looked that good. So Ollie Gordon, man, he really could be the number 2 guy in this backfield. Alexander Madison's out for the year now. So, I mean, Ollie Gordon obviously was a huge, huge prospect at Oklahoma State, and then he kind of fell off. Nobody really, was talking about him anymore. You see him; he's kind of a stiff a little bit, but he could clean up on the goal line, and if you got the number 2 role there, if he's got some fantasy value at this point. I don't know where the hell that's coming from. Oh, this is coming from here. Sorry.
AJ, you got us now? Gordon, the second. Right back to him, and he is met and driven back. 3.
Yeah, nothing too great there. But good channel there. Highlight zone. A lot of these channels out there now, just you can watch all the snaps, and they'll do it during the season too. So definitely get on YouTube and follow some of these guys like this guy here. Let's bring the draft board back up. A little bit of a quarterback run. Mahomes goes, then we see Dak go, Bo Nix go, Baker Mayfield. And this is kind of like, if I don't get Allen, Marr, Burrow, Daniels, or Hurts, I kind of like to wait on quarterback and like pass up the Nixes, the Daks, the Mayfields, unless I'm going for a stack, and just wait, even longer. Normally, I'm not grabbing any. The Nixes, the Mayfields, the Daks. I have one share of Dak now. Even Mahomes, I haven't been drafting. What do I want to do here? Josh Downs got a hammy now. Mikey Pittman. Shit. All right, let's take Tucker Kraft. Get a nice tight end. I like taking Kraft. I got a lot of him. But, I feel pretty stable there with Tucker Kraft. There goes Zach Charbonnet. That was a quick pick. The guy knew what he wanted to take there. Again, Kenny Walker back in practice today. But Charbonnet, we'll see. And maybe with both on the field, maybe Charbonnet still gets 30% of the touches there, which could give him, standalone flex value. And, we all know about Kenny Walker's injury history. We were just referring to it earlier. Marshall and Lloyd hurt once again, as I mentioned. Anthony Richardson, beautiful throw on, spins out for a sack, scramble to the right, scramble to the left, throws a, dime to Anthony Gold. Danny Jones fumbled the snap, missed a deep bomb to Warren. Warren was open, then hit him on another pass on the left side. 7-11 for Jones for 100 yards. Played the first 2 drives, 14 snaps. Anthony Richardson, 6 of 11 for 73 yards, 1 scramble for 9. But that highlight throw, one of the best throws of the preseason for Anthony Richardson. I think he's going to win the job. I've been taking him in these drafts. I think it's worth it. So much upside. If Richardson's the starter, he should be a top 10 fantasy quarterback as long as he's on the field. Again, he could lose his job. He could get cut. He could not be the start. He not get cut. He could, lose his job at some point. He get hurt again. But then you just cut him. The reward outweighs the risk. So, I feel like you're playing in a tournament like this. You need another quarterback, or if you're just looking to steal a high fantasy producing quarterback from the rest of the league, take a chance on Anthony Richardson. And I think for what we've seen from him in the first 2 preseason games, he's taking what the defense is giving him. He's made a highlight throw already, which was escaping a sack. It wasn't an easy ass throw, and that's kind of what you see from Anthony Richardson. He could do things that not a lot of quarterbacks can do, and obviously has that immense rushing upside, which is huge in fantasy football. So I think he's worth taking a chance on. Christian Kirk, I was actually looking on. I think I'm starting to come around on Christian Kirk. It sounds like he's going to be the number 2 guy there. Jaden Higgins and Noel are kind of playing the same amount of snaps. Kirk is the veteran in the room. Look at what Stephon Diggs did in the slot there last year. Kirk can do a lot of the same things. I feel like I got to start getting him. I think he's a nice, sound pick there. And again, I think it's a quarterback upgrade going from Trevor Lawrence to CJ Stroud. I think CJ Stroud's a better quarterback than Lawrence. So yeah, Christian Kirk, man, I think is a nice sound pick there in the 10th round. I was looking at him. Look at Jalen McMillan in the 9th round. Wow. You have Scatabo, J.K. Dobbins. Scatabo still not practicing with the hammy. So obviously that's a concern. Josh Downs is still there. He's got a hammy. I'm gonna take this kid because I haven't been getting a lot of them. I'm gonna take Trey Benson. I'm gonna get a little bit more running back depth. So I got 4 running backs. I like this running back room a lot. My receivers, obviously, with Higgins, Zay Flowers, and Jawan Jennings, and Rashee Rice. Not the strength of this team. Obviously, my running backs are with Lamar. But I like getting Benson. I don't know if it's going to be a 50-50 split with him and freaking James Conner, even though it's what James Conner said. But, it's going to be James Conner being he'll be the lead guy, obviously. But maybe maybe Benson gets a little bit more work this year. But I think until James Conner is gone or he gets hurt, I don't know how much value Benson's going to have. It's more of a depth pick here at this point, somebody you could hold on to. Benson gets the job, obviously. Highly talented prospect coming out of Florida State. So I haven't been getting a lot of them. I'm missing out on him. There goes Trey Harris. So I was talking about Trey Harris. Joe and I did a show. Check that out in the Sports Affiliation. We were talking about the preseason takeaways from week 1. I was talking about Trey Harris, how he was getting all those, all that work in the preseason. We had like 1 target, but he had a big game yesterday and made a hell of a catch on the sideline for a touchdown, keeping both his feet in. That's kind of what I saw from him on his tape. Good 50-50 ball guy. That was a big time catch. So, moving up here after that catch, Quentin Johnson got rocked. Came down with concussion. Trey Harris can move ahead of him. I was kind of a little bit worried about Trey Harris, but I liked that he bounced back. I want to see what he can do in the final preseason game. That Lambert Smith kid also has looked good. So I think, Justin Herbert, great late round quarterback pick. He should run more. His weapons are improved. Everybody talks about they're going to run the football. But, I think if Najee comes back, they're going to run the football for sure. But they're going to be able to pass the ball with all these weapons. You add Trey Harris into the room, second year lad. You still got Quentin who could still, do some things. This Lambert Smith kid. So their receiving room is improved. I know they had Josh Palmer last year. And of course they got Keenan Allen back too. So it's like, Justin Herbert, man. I don't know if he's going to get back to, those huge years. He's not going to have all those, those attempts, but Justin Herbert, if you want to have a 2-quarterback build, Drake May, Justin Herbert, or Fields, Justin Herbert, and you play matchups, and Justin Herbert can potentially be a guy you could start every single week. So, I think he's a great value at quarterback this year. I'm going to try to I did a values video like a month and a half ago. I had like Rashid Shaheed in there, Tony Pollard, Justin Fields, Drake May. I got to do an updated one. I got to throw Justin Herbert in there. There goes Krosky Merritt. Guy's one of the most juiced up players. He's going. I've seen him go in the 9th round, goes into 10th round now. He's getting juiced up. And now with this Brian Robinson trade news, he'll continue to get juiced up. And this kid's interesting. At New Mexico, his highlights look great. His tape looks good. Didn't play. Was going to play for who the hell was he going to play for? He transferred to a big, SEC school, Auburn, I think it was. And he didn't play because of eligibility issues. So I don't know what the hell happened there. But yeah, he's got talent. He's a pretty strong runner. So we'll see what happens with this Brian Robinson news. But I think it's a shot worth taking, especially at this point with all these running backs going. What the hell was that? Something weird has happened. Oh. This guy took Steelers defense, and then I guess he screwed up. I don't know how he messed that up, but then he got Ramondre Stevenson instead. Stevenson, I think, he's still going to have a role. Could he get erased by Henderson at some point where, he's getting like it's a Bucky Irving, Rashad White thing down the stretch? Certainly could happen. But I think to start the year, at least the first 10 games, Ramondre's going to have a pretty significant role. Trevion will probably be more the passing down guy. Obviously, the James White role. Ramondre will catch some passes too. But, Ramondre will probably be like a little bit more of the goal line back and short yardage back. And Ramondre's a good receiving back. The last 2 years have been a shit show. But, 10th round, good depth pick there at running back. I don't mind it. Bayshall Tuin, he played behind. It was Tank Bigsby, who looked good. ETN had some nice runs. Again, preseason running back plays, it's so hard to judge because you're playing against backups and guys are going to get cut and these vanilla defenses and these weak fronts. Tuin has looked good in the preseason, but he's still behind those two guys I mentioned, Bigsby and ETN. But he definitely could be a guy that, as the season goes on, earns a bigger role, and he could shine as the best running back in the room at some point. All-time leading rusher at Virginia Tech. There's been some good backs that have come out of there. I was talking about that the other night with Kevin Jones and Lee. Who the hell was the other? I can't forget his name again. But Bayshall Tuin is a guy I like to grab too. Cam Scatterbo, I still am going after him. I still draft him. Too much upside for me to fade him. Jalen Wright, I don't know. It's a great opportunity if Achane gets hurt. And Achane's got some kind of soft tissue injury going on right now. I drafted a lot of Jalen Wright last year. But hasn't looked good in his limited usage in the NFL. And even in the preseason really hasn't looked that great. Demario Douglas, chance to be the leading receiver there, or one of the leading receivers. You have to think Diggs, but Douglas could be the second guy there, second or third guy. So, Kyle Williams, we'll see how that all works out. I don't know. It's tough to predict. I like Kyle Williams. I think he's better than Douglas. Although I did like Douglas a lot. I think Kyle Williams is better overall, though. All right. Anybody still in the room here with me? You are in the room. Yeah, let me know. Let me know what build you like the most. I'll bring back the board in a second after this pick. Um, I guess we're going back to it once again. I mean, feet don't fail me now. Rashid Shaheed is definitely going to be my one of my highest owned players. I just think in the 11th round, Rashid Shaheed is a good click. Now you get scared about Shug and Rattler, but I think with Olave there and Kamara and everybody's on the field and Kellen Moore's system, they'll put up decent enough numbers and have some big weeks despite the shoddy quarterback play. I still do think Shuck's going to win the job. Although Rattler kind of played good tonight, threw one pack bet earlier today, where that was that 1:00 game today. Kind of played late into the game. Shuck started. Olave, had a bad drop and a couple catches. She had a couple catches as well. But, I think these guys will be pretty sound for fantasy, and they're both good values because nobody wants to mess with them with these quarterbacks. And as my, fifth receiver, technically my fourth, anticipating some kind of Rashee Rice suspension at some point. It's a good depth pick there. Arguing with people on Twitter about Tyson Badgett. I mean, there's some real Tyson Badgett truthers out there. I mean, I remember 2 years ago when Fields was like, they were just itching, saying Tyson Badgett, get him in there. He's going to be awesome. He's the future of the Bears, not Fields. Trade Fields away, and then Tyson Badgett comes in three touchdowns, 6 picks in 4 games, but he did win 2 games. I think it was mostly by the defense, but I just said I think he's a backup, but it's a lot of these Tyson Badgett guys are coming after me saying he's a star. He'll be a starter in the NFL one day, but I just don't see it. All right, we got Midnight Rose. Rose. TC. Welcome, man. Good to see you over on Twitch. Good to see some Twitch people out there. Shout out to Twitch. I got CJ Stroud, Derrick Henry, Nico Collins, Devontae Adams, Cooper Kupp, Sam Laporta. Finished. You got a question there, man, or you just listing off one of your drafts? All right, I'm up. Let's do it. Rashad Bateman. Another sound pick. I mean, I've had this combo, the Shaheed Bateman combo, so many times. And I like clicking on these two guys. I like to mix it up a little bit, but I don't know. I just feel like Bateman had a nice year last year, and Shaheed, if he plays all 17 games, he's gonna have a big year. So I like the value. I like him better than Higgins. I like him better than Douglas. I like him. Ayuk, we don't know how many games he's going to miss. Jack Betch is kind of buried there, although Jack Betch could emerge, and I have a lot of Jack Betch. Christian Kirk, though, is the one guy I want to start getting. I have a lot of Trey Harris. Josh Downs, I should probably start drafting him a little bit. I've been getting a lot of Jalen McMillan. But yeah, Midnight Roast. If you had a question there, or you just listen off your team, Stroud, Henry, Nico Collins. You got the Nico stack, Devontae Adams, Cooper, Cup, Laporta. So Nico, Adams, Cup, Laporta. How many teams in that league? Um, Cooper Cup, man, I haven't been drafting him. I don't know what to expect from him. Not much though. But Laporta, I think, is a nice value this year. Obviously, can't go wrong with Nico and Derrick Henry and Devontae Adams. Although Adams is a little bit concerned, but yeah, you expect Stafford to be out there and just will himself. But it is a little concerning right now. We'll have to see. That's something definitely to keep an eye on. But yeah, shout out to Twitch. I'm glad you're coming over here tonight, man. But if you guys are new to the channel, make sure you guys are liking, subscribing, if you can, if you're enjoying it. Doing a ton of these live drafts, mostly the main theme of the show. I did a AFC West preview. I did another sleepers or late round value video or value video. But it seemed like when you do those type of videos, it kind of throws off the algorithm. If you're doing constant like one thing, like if you just keep doing live drafts, I feel like the algorithm likes that better. But I kind of want to do other things too. Algorithm be damned. But yeah, I want to do some future shows. I do college basketball on the show as well. We do March Madness, huge March Madness guy, huge NCAA tournament guy. We did a NBA draft breakdown for round one. Go check that out. I thought that was pretty good. We had Josh down on there breaking down everything. Very, very knowledgeable. We're going to do some NFL picks during the year. We'll have that. Trying to do a future show, probably break down a couple more divisions as well. And some more, sleeper videos, stuff like that. But mostly we'll be rocking out these drafts at least a couple, 2-3 times a week until all the way up until, that Sunday. The first Sunday of the year, we'll be dropping shows up until week one, the last, couple of days. So we're getting close. I mean, there's not much time left. So the live drafts are going to run out during the year. We'll be doing some fab stuff, NFL picks. We'll do some recaps, other stuff as well. So appreciate you guys. Like, subscribe, share, follow me on X at Fantasy Savvy. All right, let's look at some of these builds. 3 receiver star for team 2, Jefferson, Wilson, Harrison. Then he gets Brees. So he should be picking up Justin Fields, I would think, but he does have Hurts. But no stack there with Hurts. So yeah, Fields with Wilson and Hall. That's a little bit of a different stack. The Jets didn't exactly look anything good the other night, or last night rather, with the Giants. Justin Fields, I've drafted him a ton. He's great for fantasy football. Inconsistent as a quarterback in the NFL. He'll look good sometimes. He'll look bad sometimes. His consistency has been a problem. I think he gets a bad rap for being people say he can't throw the football or he sucks. I don't think he sucks as an NFL quarterback. I think he's still above average, especially with the rushing upside puts him above, his rushing skills puts him above average. Has never really been in a good situation in his career. Is this a good situation here? It's better. You get Garrett Wilson, Brees. It seems like a stable coach, but the rest of the weapons aren't great. But anyway, first snap, I think they threw on. The blitz came in. He tried to throw over Thibodeau. I think when Thibodeau was coming under pressure, incomplete. Then they tried to throw a screen to Garrett Wilson. It was a high snap, and he tried to force it, and he threw it in the ground. Then the other 2 times he tried to throw, Garrett Wilson was locked up. One was a good play, but a defender. It was actually a good throw, but defender had his hand, and Garrett Wilson was just being locked up. So it wasn't a good debut for the offense. Or a second preseason game for the offense. The first preseason game, obviously, we saw Fields run into the end zone. He was kind of taking what the defense was giving him. A lot of throws to the backup tight end. Mason Taylor wasn't out there. So one good game for Fields, one bad game. But everybody's going crazy. He sucks. All the spam accounts on Twitter. Justin Fields is terrible. Jets have a huge problem. So they do that to get clicks because people like to chime in and bash Fields. But I still have high hopes for the Jets. I don't know. I mean, and Fields this year, I think they could win 8, 9, 10 games as a max. And Fields, regardless, I think will still be solid for fantasy. And I like drafting him. Dalton Kincaid sitting there like a loaf of bread. Justin Fields sitting there like a loaf of bread. Loaf of bread. I'm going to pass on Fields in this draft. Again, I have a ton of them. I have Lamar. I don't need to take quarterback here. Let's take Kincaid as another tight end. I like his prospects of him having a bounce back season. We could, we'll see. I think our tight end room is solid now with Kraft and Kincaid. I think it's a good pick there in the 13th round. We got 4 running backs. 6 receivers, 2 tight ends, and a quarterback. We got to build the running back room a little bit more. We'll see if Najee's still there on the way back. I don't mind adding Najee here in the 14th round. I'll take that. We got some other good names here. Will Shipley's a good one. Jarquez Hunter has looked good. Rashard Smith had a couple of nice runs in the preseason. Elijah Mitchell, man, did you guys watch him? He did not look good. I think he might get cut. Shadows is wicked. Shout out to you, man. Welcome to the show. One-man keeper league. Keep Kyron Williams to lose the 8th round, or keep Brock Bowers to lose the 10th. Tight end slot in my league is tight end wide receiver. So you don't need to start a tight end, is what you're saying? Doesn't matter. I would say I would keep Bowers. Is it PPR league? I'm assuming it is. Most leagues are PPR nowadays. Is there any other crazy rules that favor the tight ends? Is the tight end premium? Does it favor the running backs? But I'm actually in a similar situation in one of my leagues, a 14-man league. I have, I think, Brock Bowers in the 8th versus, I think, Bucky in the 8th. And I'm going to keep Chase Brown in the 13th, and I'm going to keep Bowers, I think. Though I hate getting rid of Bucky. It just sucks that I can only keep 2 guys. The team has Jaden Daniels, got Bowers, got Nico. I had the most points in my league, and I didn't even make the playoffs. And I actually had the most points ever in the league history, and I didn't make the playoffs, which is ridiculous. But I think I would keep Bowers, and I would keep Bowers there, man. I think Bowers is, you can keep him for a long ass time, man. He's something different. So I think you got to keep Bowers. Kyron, he's been great. He's been a workhorse. He could still start to he could wear down at some point. There you go, man. I mean, yeah, I understand you're biased. Running backs in fantasy are solid. Is it a 12-team league? You could still get Kyron though. I mean, you could still get Bowers too, but I would keep Bowers, man. My opinion. Thanks for the question, man. Appreciate it. All right, back on the board here. Najee did go. And this is what we got to do, right? Because we have Saquon. So we got to take some Will Shipley right here. So like that there. Arturo Flores. Appreciate you coming on the show, man. Thanks. Some new guys in here tonight. Where are you guys at? You guys on the West Coast? Are you Central Time, somewhere in Texas or something like that, or the middle of America? Let me know. I got the 7th pick in my most important 10-man league. I want to cry. Man, I wouldn't worry about it. 10-man leagues, you can build strong teams. You could still come away with a very, very sound team. You're going to get that early pick in the second round. So you get two huge studs. Yeah, man, I wouldn't worry about it. You're gonna get those first two picks. You're gonna come away with something nice, and you just continue to build, man. Obviously, you want to be, if you want to get the Chases and the Bijan, the Gibbs, you're probably not gonna get that. But when's your draft? I mean, Neighbors, a little bit of uncertainty with him right now. Jefferson, a little bit of uncertainty with him. So I kind of feel you, but you could still come away with something real, real solid. And both those guys, you would expect to be back for week 1 and be fine. But yeah, some concerns. I mean, Neighbors hasn't practiced for a while now. Jefferson hasn't practiced for a while now. But I mean, you could still come away with a Genti. You could still come away with a CMC. If you want to get, I mean, Jefferson went number 2 in this draft. If you could come away with a CeeDee Lamb, and CeeDee Lamb went 7th in this draft. You could take the stability of Amon-Ra. You got Nico. You could even take Brian Thomas and Drake London if you wanted to. I mean, Brian Thomas is gonna have was a freak last year. He's gonna have a huge year. Drake London, I think, is gonna have a monster year. So, dude, don't worry about it, man. You can win from any draft spot. Just go into your draft confident and ready to dominate. I think you'll do well. Thanks for your input. No problem, man. Portland, Oregon in the house. Oh, awesome, man. Awesome. My favorite player, if you watch college basketball, Peyton Pritchard. Loved him at Oregon. And, if you remember, he got the freaking 2020 happened. So the March Madness, I'm nuts for March Madness NCAA tournament. Conference tournaments are going on. They stopped, and Oregon was having a huge. I think they were going to be a number 1 seed. Pritchard was going to have a monster tournament, but he's been good for Boston. And obviously, Bucky Irving, man, what a stud there. And then Portland Trailblazers, man. I was a Bulls fan growing up. They took care of business against Portland. I believe that was 1993. Also, I was working valet, years ago. Cliff Robinson played for the Trailblazers. Also played for the Nets, NBA player. Tipped me $100, like my biggest tip ever. But yeah, shout out to you, man. Appreciate you coming in, James. If Penix can last the year. Yeah. That is a question. You're right, man. Penix obviously has had some injury concerns. If they could protect him, though, and we saw that in the college playoffs when he tore up Texas, they protected him. Then he played Michigan, and it was a whole different story. And he was banged up in that game. He looked like a completely different quarterback. But if you protect him, Penix going to pick you apart like Jared Goff, and he's going to feed Drake London. I mean, he fed him down the stretch last year. Baldinger was at camp saying every single pass was to freaking Drake London. And Drake London had a big year last year. So, I think Drake London, I got to start. It's hard to get him, though, because you always miss out on him. I got to get more of them. But that is true. But I mean, if Penix goes down, then you got Kirk Cousins at least. And you would think Kirk Cousins is probably healthier. Now 2 years removed from his Achilles injury. I don't think he was fully healthy last year. And then I think he also had he had like a shoulder injury too, they were talking about. So, if he goes down, at least you have a good backup that you can rely on. But yeah, Penix, we'll see. If he tries to get a little too giddy, start running around, or that pocket starts collapsing on him, he definitely could get a little bit banged up. But I could see him having a big year, like 30 touchdowns, 4,000 yards. All right, where do we want to go here? Back to running back. Think so. Do we want Jarquez or do we want Brashard Smith? Is the question. Quorum kind of working ahead of Jarquez. Again, I don't think Elijah Mitchell has looked good. I think he could get cut. Brashard could kind of start getting more and more of a role, that Jerick McKinnon role, as the season goes on. Very close. Obviously, if Jarquez gets any meaningful snaps. All right, let's take Brashard Smith. I've been getting tons of these two guys. I've been, sometimes I get both, sometimes I only get one of them. It seems like I've been getting more Jarquez of late, so let's get Brashard here. And if Jarquez is there on the way back, I'll take him. Jarquez is wearing like number 37 or number 35. It's just a weird number for him. I think he wore 27 in college, which is looks a lot better on a running. I don't know, 35 for like usually 35. You do like the big ass running back. There goes Pat Bryant. Good pick there. Pat Bryant, he could be very, very nice. So we have 6 running backs now, 6 receivers, 2 tight ends, and a quarterback. Balanced team. This is how I like to build my teams. Balance. You'll see some guys, they'll take 4 or 5 receivers in a row. I mean, that doesn't seem as popular. And there goes Roman Wilson. So I would usually get Roman Wilson last pick, 18th round. Now he's up 3 rounds. So that's the one good thing about drafting early. When you recognize talent, you can get values on this guy. I've got a ton of Roman Wilson. Secured a lot of him late in drafts as like my last pick. I had a nice game yesterday, and looks like he's the number 2 guy there in Pittsburgh. Now the tight ends might get more targets, Jonnu and Freiermuth, but Roman Wilson's going to have a pretty significant role there. Calvin Austin's banged up right now. There goes JJ McCarthy. I like him. I think he's a big time value, a quarterback. If you guys have been listening to my shows, I've been talking about JJ McCarthy again. Josh Dobbs, Nick Mullins throwing for 300-400 yards, 4 touchdowns. Aiden, Kevin O'Connell's like a QB whisperer there. Even the backup they had, I forget his name. He's looks like Kirk Cousins a little bit. But yeah, McCarthy should have a monster year. Obviously, get a little concerned though. Maybe a slow start. No Jefferson, possibly to start the year. We'll see. He's, you'd think he'll be back by week 1, but obviously no Addison for the first 3 games. He's still got Hockenson. Jalen Naylor's not a bad player. But, if they don't have any Jefferson or Addison, that's obviously going to hurt McCarthy. But he's got a nice rushing floor as well. Jalen Royals is a guy I would have definitely taken if he was there, considering I have Rashee Rice. James says, we are young, but we will run. I think the Falcons are going to have a huge year this year. You mean like the team or like the offense? I think the team is going to like really bounce back because I think they won 8 games last year, or maybe 9 games, 8 or 9 games. I think their win total was like 9 or 9.5 last year, and they fell under that. But we'll see. Second year now for Raheem Morris and Penix. See what Kyle Pitts could do. James Brandon says, I like Jackson Meek for Detroit. All right, we're up here. Jarquez is still sitting there. A lot of my sleeper receivers are gone now. Although Dante Thornton is still there. But I'm going to grab Hunter first. Wow, Thornton usually goes. I'm surprised he's still there. Hey, Manner's there. There's still some good picks here at receiver. Tesla. I got 2 more positional picks. Then I got to go kicker defense. Jackson Meeks. Interesting. Not a name you hear all the time. I'll have to take a look at him, man. Played football at Syracuse in Georgia. Transferred to Syracuse. 1,000 yards and 7 touchdowns. Undrafted free agent. So we'll see what Tesla does. You got Tim Patrick there. Can he jump over Tim Patrick, who's pretty solid? I mean, Tim Patrick's had, I think, 2 ACL injuries. So I don't know if he's, kind of the same player anymore. But this dude, Jackson Meeks, man, shout out to you. Maybe I'll take a look at him, put him on my radar. My dynasty rosters seem like they're pretty stacked right now. I'm trying to fit some other guys in, but definitely a guy to pay attention for dynasty and in keeper leagues. Sounds like Dan Campbell's talking about him a little bit as well. Jackson Meeks has everyone's attention, including Detroit Lions coach Dan Campbell. Wow. Rocky Sin said he's going to be a good player in this league for a long time. Seven catches, 93 yards. Scored the Lions' first touchdown, sang an 11-yard pass from Kyle Allen. All right, man. We'll be checking him out. Quarterback run there. Pennick's still there. Bryce Young, Tua, Cam Ward, lots of quarterbacks left. The question is, do I want to take a quarterback in this draft? I'm not going to take a quarterback yet. Tyler Lockett, I mean, nobody wants the guy. There's no upside there, though. People are chasing preseason here. Troy Franklin's been having a good preseason. I need to get a couple more receivers here, or at least one more, and then maybe we'll go to quarterback. After taking 3 straight running backs, but I like all those running backs, Shipley, Rashard Smith, Hunter. I think my running back room is pretty damn strong. Our receiver room, it all depends on Rashee Rice. If Rashee Rice could come back before the fantasy playoffs, I might be very happy. Of course, I got to make it that fantasy playoffs. But if he, I feel a lot better if he's out there for the fantasy playoffs rather than having him and then he's gone for the fantasy playoffs. Because you need him in this format. So in this format, if you guys are unfamiliar, you have to finish top 2 in your league. There's no playoffs. You finish top 2 in your league, you advance to the championship round, and you win a prize. So first place wins $1,500, second place wins $700. Most points. And best record advance for the 2 spots advance to the championship round. So it's, this tournament starts about 4,000 teams. I think once you get to the championship round, it gets to 800 teams. So you take your baseline score, your average score from weeks 1 through 14. So if it's like 150 points or whatever, you start with that as your baseline, and then it's a cumulative score, weeks 15, 16, 17, shootout. Whoever scores the most points wins. The grand prize is $250,000. So that's why you want to have a guy like Rashee Rice, down the stretch you drafts. All right, what am I doing at receiver here? A. Manor looked nice. Tyler Lockett's in the way. Jalen Noel's there. Alec Pierce, I like. Quentin Johnston. Dante Thornton. Gino was taking shots to him left and right. I don't know. Adonai Mitchell. He's interesting. Then you got Tesla there too. John, who's still there. Let's go Adonai Mitchell, man. I think Lockett is going to be the number two receiver. The A. Manor could be nice too. I think it'll be close between those two. I think Lockett, but I don't know. Lockett doesn't have a ton of upside. A. Manor does too, has more upside. I think Lockett is kind of capped at this point. Obviously, Thornton, I think, is just going to be like more of a best ball play. Like he'll have a game where he'll kind of be like Alec Pierce, where Alec Pierce will go for 100 yards and a touchdown. Then he'll go for 1 for 15, 2 for 17, 3 for 22, and then he'll have another 100-yard game. I think he's a better best ball player, whereas Adonai Mitchell could be like that too, especially when you have Downs there, Pittman, Alec Pierce, Tyler Warren, and you got Richardson and, Danny Penny's throwing the ball. But I think Mitchell's the best prospect out of all these guys. Between A. Manor and Thornton. So I'm just betting on talent there. And I think there's a world where maybe Mitchell shines as like the number one receiver on this team. Didn't do much in the preseason game, but was causing penalties left and right. I think he had like caused the defenders have 2 pass interference penalties. So he's been a little bit of a problem. Had showing a nice rapport with Richardson in camp as well. And I want to do it here. I want to take Richardson my last pick, actually, just for the upside. Again, I think he's going to win the job. Marshall and Lloyd, again, hurt again. I'm good at running back. I could grab another receiver here. A. Manor, Thornton. How much are they going to do for me? Tesla, I don't know. I don't know why. I just don't know how much he's going to do. With Amon-Ra there, with JMO, with Laporta, with Gibbs, like Patrick's still in the way. It's more of a keeper league, dynasty pick. Jonu's a great pick here, man. Jonu could be their second leading receiver on this team. I have Kincaid and I have Kraft. Jonu really could help this team. And I don't need Anthony Richardson. But Penix, Tua, Stafford. I want to have a decent backup here. Shit. What do I want to do here, guys? All right, let's take Richardson. Just get another quarterback. Again, Richardson, if he's the starter, he's gonna be there. Goes Jono. Good pick there. I have 2 tight ends. I wouldn't have mind taking 3 tight ends. Fryermuth and Jono are pretty good values at the end. But Richardson, if he's on the field, he should be a top 10 quarterback. Even if he's throwing for 100 yards and 2 picks. He can still throw for 2 touchdowns. He can still run for 2 touchdowns, 80 yards. So it's like regardless of what his performance is on the field. Again, he can't play so bad where he's, hurting the team, which is definitely possible. But I've liked what I've seen from him so far. He's playing more in the system. He's checking down. He's not trying to take the deep ball. He could still avoid sacks. That throw to freaking Anthony Gold was special. We've seen him do that with Alec Pierce, burning Stingley last year. He just needs to stay healthy. He needs to continue to be smart, take what the defense gives him, take his shots when he has to. But I'm going to steal him from the rest of the league here because he's such a high upside player. And God forbid something happens to Lamar. Maybe I got a good backup there in Anthony Richardson. And if he doesn't win the job, I just cut him and then I pick somebody else up. So I think that's why you take Anthony Richardson at the end of these drafts. You take a shot on him for the upside because he should be a top 10 quarterback every time he's out there. And if not, he gets cut, you steal him. I mean, if he gets cut, you drop. I mean, if he gets cut, if he doesn't start, you drop him and you pick up somebody else. And at the very least, even if you don't use him, you're stealing him for the rest of the league. All right, we're wrapping this baby up. We'll go over the team. We'll go over some of these builds. I want to thank everybody for joining me tonight. James, I believe he's new in the room. Shadow's Wicked. Also Arturo and Midnight Rose. Before we had Scott in here, Joe Carlton, East Coast guys probably, hit the sheets. And Al and Jamie as well. Thanks for everybody coming in. Again, like, subscribe to the show. Follow me on X at Fantasy Savvy. We're going to wrap this baby up with a kicker and a defense. Another show in the books, another draft in the books, another team I have to manage all season long, which is a lot of work with the fab. But we're chasing, we're chasing the league prize. We're chasing the overall prize. So, a lot of the big dogs in here have tons of entries, gives them an advantage. But hey, the guy that won this last year, I believe he had 5 entries. So, you could win. I think if you're going to do one of these 350 entry, you got to have at least, you want to have at least 2 or 3 teams, which you could still win. But, some of these guys have like 50 entries, 60 entries. I don't know where I'm going to land at. Probably like 15, something like that. Maybe more. I don't know. We're running out of time here. But I do play in other formats as well. But, take a look at the NFC, play NFC. They got tons of great leagues. Different, prize entries, prize points. So check them out. We'll be doing FFWC drafts. I got to do a live stream of that. I've only done one of those. RT Sports, I want to do one more of those at least. And one more big gorilla over on FFPC. And then, maybe another best ball or two. I only did one best ball. I've kind of been slacking in the best ball streets. That's something you could just do, randomly. But I got to get in some more best ball drafts. I got to start filling some of those, 4 or 5 entry tournaments. Max out on those. I'm not going to. Some of these guys have been maxing out on the best ball mania. I'm not going to be one of those guys. I'll maybe have like 15, 20 entries in that. All right. Manuel Wilson, 130 here. What defense? I'm taking a lot of Jets. I'm off the Jets. I'm going to go Rams here. People are snatching up the Cardinals now because they're playing the Saints week 1. We'll take Rams. We'll go over some of these builds. I liked Team 4's start. He's got a lot of sound picks here. Good draft for him. Dante Thornton's still out there. All right, but Team 4, yeah, Gibbs, McConkey, Worthy, Henderson, Pickens, Harvey, Golden, Debo, Charbonnet. Perfect. Dobbins, Loveland had a couple catches tonight. His quarterbacks, I don't really like his quarterback room. That's the one downside of his team. Although Goff, should be solid. I don't know if he's going to play, all those dome games like he did last year. And, maybe without Ben Johnson, things don't look as pretty. But no stack there. No stack with Love. Oh, actually, no, he has Love Golden stack. My bad. And Bryce Young should be better. Love should be better. But still, I mean, you could draft a really solid team. I had a team last year that had Gibbs round 1. I don't know, Barkley round 1. Gibbs round 2. And Achane round 3. I think from the 10 hole, maybe. And this is third round reverse. So the first 12th pick is the first pick of the third round rather than the first pick. And that team was busted by Jordan Love. I mean, he just didn't have a good year, and I was chasing quarterback all year. I think I had picked up Richardson, but he got hurt. So it was just a mess. So you could have a really talented team, but if you don't get those consistent points from your quarterback, your teams start to fall off. And, you're going against these other teams who are like Burrow and Allen, and they're getting those 20, 30, 40-point games. And, it just hurts your team. So, that's why I think it's worth it, especially in this format with 6 points for passing touchdown, to pay up for the Allens, to pay up for the Mars and the Burrows, the Hurts, the Daniels. It makes sense. A couple more teams here before we finish up with mine. That I like. Kind of like Team 10, Neighbors, A.J. Brown, Kenny Walker, Kamara, DJ Moore, Pollard, Drake May, and Fields is a nice combo there. That's something you want to do. You get 2 running, and he gets Tua. We didn't really need Tua, but you get 2 quarterbacks who can run the ball, have safe rushing floors, and you can play matchups. So, that's a good strategy there. And I like the Pollard pick. DJ Moore's, nice. Godwin as his 5th receiver. He comes back. That's solid there in the 9th round. Good team. Team 8, McCaffrey, Achane, Jackson, Jigba, Evans, Waddle, Judy, Warren, Andrews, Mayfield, Downs. Good team. Team 7, CeeDee Lamb, Bucky, Cook, Terry, J-Mo, Connor, Mahomes, Warren, nice. Ayuk late, like that. Team 6. Let me tell these guys I streamed this show first off. Team 6. Oh shit. Sorry guys, I'm just trying to share this real quick. Team 6, Genty, Bowers, Kyron, Burrow, Pearsall, Mason, Kelsey, Reed, McMillan, another Trey Harris, another good team. Team 2, Jefferson, Wilson, Harrison, Brees, Hurts, Swift, Pacheco. Team 3, Bijan, Chase, Allen, Devontae, Hunter, Olave, Addison, Joku, Cam. Pretty good. And I'll take my kicker and chicken kickers. Remember the chicken kickers from Domino's? All right. Last pick, we'll go with Dylan Carlson. Steady, solid kicker. And an uptick of the Raiders offense. All right. My team, my starting lineup here out of the 5 hole. Lamar Jackson, Jonathan Taylor, Saquon Barkley, T. Higgins, Zay Flowers, Jawan Jennings, or Rashid Shaheed, or Rashid Rice to start the year. We'll see what happens with the suspension. Tucker Kraft or Kincaid is my tight end. Backups, or flex rather. Aaron Jones or Jennings or Rice or Shaheed or even Bateman, I guess, could work in there. Trey Benson, but you're gonna need Connor the way. Backups: Trey Benson, Kincaid, Shipley, Richard Smith, Jarquez Hunter, Adonai Mitchell, Anthony Richardson, Rams, Vegas. So good team, balance. This is how I build my teams, balance. Again, you'll see some guys, they start with 3 receivers, 4 receivers, 5 receivers. Doesn't happen as much as it used to. And then they'll just pound running backs at the end, the old 0 running back strategy. They'll just start with 1 strong running back, then go all receivers. It's just like unbalanced. I like to keep my teams balanced, have a lot of depth at all positions, and just feel good about a nice, strong, balanced team coming into the season. So that's it, guys. Thanks for joining me tonight. Fantasy Savvy on Twitter. Thanks again for everybody who came in tonight. We'll be doing a lot more of these. Take care. We will see you very, very soon. I'm going to leave the draft board up, play a little bit of music. Have a great night. Have a great week.